in touch with West Coast, and last I knew that Andrew and West Coast were working on him downloading. There's a Generac app that you can put on your phone, and Andrew is who Chelsea wanted to be in charge of that.
If I recall, Daniel, we're gonna add me to that list. That I'm here and responsible with the emergency response team to have that information sent to me also.
Okay, so we need to get Andrew to get with you on that.
Just add me to the email list, so I'm also aware.
Okay. Rock Solid Pavers, Tim Gunott, is still saying, even though we changed the color, for availability, they're still booked out. So he was gonna get back to me this week on when they were gonna be coming out to do Natarita 2.
Not even a ballpark.
Not even a ballpark, unfortunately. Gator Construction was awarded the bid for repairs to 6 area sidewalks where root damage was heaving the concrete up. So they're waiting for, I'm not sure what it's called in Florida. I call it no cuts. Yeah. So anyways, yeah, safe dig, whatever. They're coming out to mark those areas because we do have gas lines, especially on Pelican. So still waiting for West Coast. Hopefully in September, we should see that street light coming in on Cypress and Pelican Preserve Boulevard. The Palazzo street lights have, the new pole is up and all of the others have been repaired. And we're meeting this week with Omar, I believe his name is, with Lichen Sign Tech. Andrew and I will be driving the community to confirm all of the signs. Because Matt Sprung left Lichens and he had all the information with him that we drove the community back in March. So now we're starting all over again.
I heard that Lichen got the contract, made the signs, placed them someplace where they became exposed to overspray. They kind of destroyed the signs.
Oh, didn't hear any of
That's
that.
why we started on.
Nope, I didn't hear that.
Okay.
Lichens is the only one in Southwest Florida that will do the decorative posts. So we're kind of, our hands are tied with that. The O&M agreement, we are working with the district on that. Faye Formoso, Nancy Straw, and myself have been sitting in numerous meetings to try to fine tune that. For the most part, it's just going to be removing the invoicing and budgeting responsibilities from PPCA. Laura will then do the invoicing. The list still is pretty substantial as far as support from KW. I'll be still going out with vendors with projects that start to make sure that they're doing it for the scope of work. Andrew and I will both be overseeing the maintenance person that's hired for the community to make sure things like the boardwalk is, getting taken care of. If there's any things that we see in the community, we can have him or her go out and do those projects. We will have, the thing that's new that's added is there's going to be more communication in our newsletter. So the district will have a section, or PPAC will have a section for their work groups in our monthly newsletter. You guys can rotate that. So 1 month it can be safety security, the next month it will be landscaping, and the next month lakes and ponds. However you want to do that, that's available. Adriana can coordinate that with any articles that you want to put in there. We will also be sending communication e-blasts out to the community for any district assets. For example, if irrigation has to go down for repairs, then we would send an e-blast out, just letting the community know. I will be, myself or a representative of KW will be attending all work group meetings. And we're here for support for any budgetary items once the budget comes around, if you need any help with that. I just won't be doing the budget, but I'll be there for support if I see projects that we think we need to get done, that type of thing. But for the most part, it's still pretty much the same. I'll still be the router for any of the homeowners because they just know to go to the property manager. It's just how it is.
Easiest way to get it done.
It's the easiest way, and then I'll just push it out to the work groups that need to have the work done.
Now, the actual documents, Bobby, the actual document, the O&M, is going to change significantly. It may not be called.
No, it's gonna be like a service provider
We're going to
agreement.
come up with, and there'll be two facets to it. First is what Jennifer just said, the historic things. The second part is going to be irrigation, because as we journey down this transition from resident managers taking care of things to the district, we intentionally avoided discussing irrigation because it is such a mishmash, such a mess. So last year we did landscaping. This year we did safety and security. Next year we will be addressing irrigation. And to that end, we've met with already at preliminary meetings with Jim Torba, who is the most knowledgeable person in the community of what is covered by irrigation.
The agreement is just between Heritage and PPCA, right?
It's not.
For the irrigation.
And quite honestly, the district, as far as I know, has never paid a nickel for an ounce of water. So that's clearly something that needs to be addressed. So all of those things are going to be turned over. The attorney for the district has just discovered the initial plans for the irrigation installation. So we're gonna have to validate that to see if they built it as they said they built it. And if they did build it like they say they were going to build it, it'd be the first thing. But anyway, we got a starting point. So we'll have good progress over that in the next year.
We had delayed the meeting that you, Laura, and I were gonna have, probably also with some KW rep, to go through the next phase or the next step in terms of what we have to take on. So do you feel that you're far enough along that we can try to get that scheduled? Okay,
Sure.
then I'll send something out, see if we can get something
Yeah.
maybe next week. to
Yeah.
Keep you away from
We did
all the
another
nuttiness
amendment.
this week.
So attorneys had to go at it, and of course, we met again and we came up with some more amendments that we feel are agreeable to both parties. And now it's back to the hands of the attorney again, so
Okay,
hopefully.
Well, while we're talking KW, the district has had or has a position where they didn't feel it was appropriate for the district to be financially supporting a rover, town center walkthroughs, and or RV lot storage monitoring and patrols. So the district has a position recommendation. PPAC took a position at the last meeting that they want to continue providing those services under the Wiser contract. So this will now be coming before the board in the next month, I'd say in September, and the board will adjudicate which way we go. And right now we are totally funded in the non-ad valorem tax for the 24 fiscal year that the district still pays that. So that nothing is going to change short term. But we are going to, discuss it and make a decision that we will keep these activities where they are. At least that's what my position is going to be, that we should keep it the way they are. That's what PPAC said. The biggest point of discussion was they are not district assets, and that is legitimate. The town center and the RV park are not legitimate assets, as are the roads that the rover rides on. But the overwhelming benefit for the residents of the community, as well as their expectations, because we've been doing this for the last 25 years, is that we should continue that.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll get an answer to that very shortly, and I think it's going to be one and PPCA is totally supportive of it. There was some discussions early on where our resident dues would have to increase if these functions moved over to the PPCA. Now, that would have been offset by a reduction in non-ad valorem. My personal opinion is I always see when things are reduced, but it never reduces my bills.
Yeah.
The bills always,
that's why.
it's always filled up.
Because they find something.
There's somewhere, there's always a good reason to spend that money. But anyway, that's the status of that. We are maybe good in a good direction here.
I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
Related to Bob, what you just said, and also Jen, your report also. So maybe it's not our concern, but on the irrigation side, in your comment, Bob, that the district hasn't paid a penny for any water.
Residents have, right?
Residents, okay. Um, Does anyone have a status update on when or if the recycled water line will be activated and come into fruition in Pelican Preserve? Is that a
Dean,
concern?
I have been aware that this is going to happen for 12 years. And for 12 years, I'm told it'll happen in 3 years. And as far as I know, there are no steps by the city to do it. The city will eventually provide the water. And when they do, we must buy it from them. We'll no longer get golf course water and we will have to pay for it. But when and if that'll occur in my lifetime, I can't answer that.
Okay, thank you. Because I know that the city has pushed a line over to the Cape for the Cape to purchase recycled water. I just didn't know if it was finding its way in Pelican yet.
It's on the horizon, but we don't have an idea when. They have so much trouble trying to prevent or to give us regular water at a good water pressure that this is further down the list.
Yeah, okay, thank you. And Jen, your comments about street lighting and repairs, et cetera. I didn't hear you say, but I recall reading that the street lights from Pelican Preserve Boulevard up to Colonial are all
Yeah.
functional now?
I forgot to include that. They are functional. There is just a 2-tiered one that's on the median of Pelican Preserve Boulevard that West Coast believes is on a different circuit entirely. So they've got to backtrack that. But it wasn't cheap, but there's all new wiring up from Pelican Preserve all the way up to Colonial, or to the back end of Winn-Dixie, if you will. So
Thank you.
and actually, we're getting complaints from one
Too
of
much
the,
light?
yes,
Too bright.
it's too bright. It's going in my lanai. What
From
can
an
you do to
Aviano.
put on it? Yes, Aviano. They want like
Yeah.
shields put up. I'm like,
We had those before, and we did put up fields, and the problem went away. When we went to the LED lighting, they were much brighter than we did here.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You can't
Yeah.
win.
Rolling laugh. You can't win.
Anything else? Okay. The next thing is approval of minutes. We can't approve them, but we can take comments. Any comments from anybody on the minutes? Nope. Dean, did you have any comments?
No, I read through them a couple of times. Wasn't a whole lot to comment on, so well done.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I guess I don't know if this is a comment on those minutes. I think in the meeting, who was going to be notified when there were issues, that it was going to be Jen and somebody of the district from Wiseman. And I guess I would suggest that Danny, since he's now our interface with Wiseman, that he be included in that and get all correspondence also. I don't know if that was in there or not. I didn't read that.
Are you talking about
Notification of incidents and your,
Incident reports and things.
Yeah.
Not getting the instant reports. Something's wrong on Wiser's side. And Laura and I haven't seen an incident in about 3 months.
I had Mark print those off to make sure physically, because evidently maybe the user group's wrong or something, but I had to print them off, give them to Jen or get you.
Okay.
Every time.
I'd like to suggest that they don't, no offense, Dan, but they don't go to Danny to go to Jen. I think they should just go to
Okay.
everybody at one time
Oh,
because
yeah.
of time delay
Yeah,
and what
yeah,
have you.
yeah.
Not that I don't think you would, forward them on or anything.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I think direct is better.
To Jen.
And
It was to the customer care
Yeah,
email.
Right.
This GSCDD customer care email. I don't remember the email exactly.
Oh.
It's in the post orders. We can look it up in a moment. Well, it's the same email you've been
Yeah.
using for the customer care group.
and then
Yeah.
Laura and I would get them also, because I
Right.
feel like there was things immediately needed to take care of.
Do you want them included with me? Is that what you're saying?
well, my question about incident reports is,
I don't think so. I don't think
they
that's
have a phone on them, off hours. Because let's say
Sprinkles are going on all over. You have to call somebody. You fill out an incident report on that, or Jane for the copy. She should.
Yeah, and something's wrong with their Wiser system, their database.
We are doing treatment. Just come back and try another one. I just want to print them off, make sure she gets me. Yeah.
Well, how are you documenting it now? Going through the computer?
Yeah.
There's no manual backup?
We can print them on the backup.
I know
So,
that a year ago, well, before KW was on property, I was getting incident reports almost on a daily basis. And, you know, whether it was emergency response, police, or fire, ambulance came on site and went to a certain location, investigated a crash or something. I was seeing those, but I've not seen anything in over a year, and I suspect Laura has not seen anything in about the same length of time. So
We've got it corrected. It was going to Scott Charnot and Chris Santos.
yeah,
And then we got it corrected with Tim, and I got maybe half a dozen of them, but then I don't get them anymore. Something's wrong in the database somewhere.
yeah, something seems
Send
broken.
me,
I'm
if
sure
y'all
there-
would send me the name of the people y'all want to go to. I can check in the system, make sure.
Okay. Wait a second here. Any other comments about the minute? Okay. Financial report, of course, we're not going to get those until after the beginning of the fiscal year. We have a couple of discussion items. The first one is for fiscal year 24, having discussing our schedule as well as the timing. That's really
they're both
two of
related.
them, but I figured that's the
Yes.
same kind of discussion item. Is that something you're going to be presenting?
Yes, I went
Okay.
through this is Georgia. I went through the calendar and got your meetings for the last Monday of the month. Two of them fell on holidays, so if everything else is okay in the spreadsheet for those that are on the committee, we'll go ahead and, of course, we can't vote today, but if anything doesn't look right, let me know and I'll change it for the next meeting.
Okay.
And have we confirmed with Lifestyles that the room's available with Raven?
Yes, Raven has this
Thank
list.
you.
Yes.
Perfect.
This is Dean. There was one conflict, I think it was Christmas Day, in 24, so you moved it to a week earlier, as I recall, Georgia.
That's correct. And
December
also,
18th.
yes, December 18th. And then also Memorial Day was May 27th. So I moved that to May 20th.
Okay. The second item on the discussions is really geared at, you know, is this a good day or a good time to have the meetings in order for us to achieve a quorum? Because as you see, you know, we got more people that are not on the committee than are on the committee that are attending. And I recall at least one of the new members had commented that he preferred afternoons. But I don't know if that's a reason why he's not here today or what, but that was the only reason why I had put that on the agenda also, was possible meeting times. Obviously, we want to accommodate as many people as possible, and also the support staff from the district as well as from KW and even from Wiser, who comes to these meetings. So whatever we can do to ensure we have a best chance of getting a quorum is what I was hoping for. So
Yeah, they had some emergency in a family caused one person to be out of town. The other one, I know Ted's not here and he's not in Florida, and neither is Chudowski. All three of them are just, whether it's just coincidence or whatever. But yeah, we hope when adding people, we have a better opportunity to get a quorum. And I think we will when we get out of August.
well, from for that reason, I guess I just kind of defer the discussion. And we can,
Till they're back, yeah.
we can agree that without voting, that the maintaining the schedule of the last Mondays makes sense, and then we can always agree later to adjust that.
Yep, the time. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll just say, Raven has tentatively saved the 1 o'clock time also, but we can, change that. So,
Okay.
Oh, good.
so we got both
Got
times right
options.
now. Yes.
That might be better. Let's do it at night. 1 or 2.
Okay. Well, actually, we took care of the next agenda item as well, because that was the time change to the afternoon. Anybody have anything else to say about that before we move on? Okay. Add layer of GIS for signs and street lights.
I'll start it and just, Ed, turn it over to you in 1 second, okay?
Okay.
It must now be, 6 months ago or so, we got it was suggested that we ought to have a GIS layer for the assets called street signs, warning and regulatory signs, and street lights, so that when the next hurricane with an I takes its toll on Pelican, would be able to know specifically what sign was affected, what street light is out, et cetera. And so we got in touch with the district's GIS consultant, who is also providing services to PPAC. That's correct, Bob, right?
Yes, both
Yes.
ponds and landscaping.
Ponds and landscaping. So we got in touch with Passarella and Associates. They developed a scope and fee proposal that this committee kind of chatted about several months back, and not much has happened with it. But in the last couple of weeks, and the contract was executed by the district recently. The couple of weeks ago, Ed Hedges and several of us met with Passarella to get started on this process. So, Ed, if you would be so kind to kind of chat about it and tell us what we need to do to kind of move forward.
Okay. When this got started, I will say I worked for electric utility and did facility mapping in their GIS system and ran it for a number of years. And so I'm very familiar with field data collection and around field assets and that. And so I think this is going to be a pretty big effort to collect the data and how we're going to do it. But after our meeting, I talked to Will some more, and just for this is kind of what it might end up looking like in the GIS layer, basically where we inventory the signs and that, and then they show up on the map. But to classify all those assets, it can be quite labor intensive. Well, a couple of things have come up. One, in Gateway is looking to have FPL take over their streetlights over in Gateway, and they're starting to consider the same thing here. So we got a map from Florida Power and Light of all the streetlights that are in the neighborhoods. And we've worked with them and Passarella to better geocode them. So for all those lights, all we have to do is kind of verify them and make sure they're in the right location. So that's going to be a lot easier. The other thing that Passarella came up with was a field application where Will's provided maps that I've actually got loaded on an app on my phone, and you can actually, it locates you as you go around, and then you can put a pinpoint on the phone of where the device is, set the layer, record attributes. So like speed signs, they can go on a layer, and we can say whether it's 20, 25, 30, whatever the speed limit is, just in the phone, and we can actually take a picture of the sign or the street lights while we're out in the field. Unfortunately, I had to there's a free app, but it's very limited. So I paid $100 to $150 to get the upgraded app so we could load all the maps on. And so, I can go around and record all that, which will make it very easy for them to bring into the back end of the system. We won't have to be recording it on paper and then have them interpret our paper notes and put it into the computer. So I need some folks to, help me out in the field, probably driving a golf cart while I do some of this. And unfortunately, I was hoping we could be able to, when I thought it was going to be more labor intensive, I thought we could each have a way we could split up the work in that. But since it's kind of tied to the one phone, and I think this app, I've got to talk to Doug on for the ponds and things. I think it could be really beneficial because not only could you put pinpoints, but you can draw polygons or lines, so a lot of the work that they've done in the past on the ponds, is
Could be simplified.
it'll be simplified if you can do it right on the phone with the aerial photography underneath of it. You won't have to print maps to go out, take out the field and mark up. You can kind of do that right on the phone. So I think it's probably going to take 2 passes, one to do all the signs, and then another one to do the street lights, just to kind of keep it more straightforward. We don't have that big of a community that 2 passes shouldn't be that bad. So I'm basically looking for volunteers that I can coordinate with and go drive around. I'll be asked stuff. So
Yeah, I have a golf cart. I'm happy to help.
so cool.
And if I can, make sure you submit a receipt for that program.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get reimbursed. And I'm going to suggest to Doug, that Jim Latham has the same thing since he does what you're doing for the ponds, and we should, when we buy them, both of them should have those. Okay.
Yeah, so
Thanks.
Ed, what type of time commitment are you thinking this is? Is it a couple of days for signs, a couple of days for lights, or?
You see
is it
those?
more?
No, I think it's just a couple days.
Did you see the work product team?
Yeah,
Okay,
I see it.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Just a few days then.
I think probably a couple days. If we just, do mornings, it might take a little bit more than that to try to do it during the cooler part of the day, but I don't think it'll be that much of an effort.
And while we're out, I think we also wanted to identify where the ADA ramps are
Right.
on one of those passes, I guess, probably when you're doing the signs, probably same time, identify
Yeah.
the ADA ramps where the tactile strips are.
And the other thing I thought of afterwards was to get the meter locations for the gateway owned street lights so that we know where those are and get those. Georgia's going to get those to me.
And probably the defib stations. I mean, it never ends, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about this is it makes it so easy. We can add things if we want to fairly
Yeah,
easily.
information. I don't know if you have my contact information, but just let me know.
I was thinking at some point, it would also be helpful to identify when the last time that street light was replaced or that sign was replaced, assuming that they're all, on the date that we do this data collection, that they're all, I'll call them new for the time being. But at some point they get replaced, and the database, the GIS database would be helpful to say, in 2025, we replaced 15 stop signs or 25 LED lights or whatever, that sort of thing. We might get if the streetlights change ownership, that might be overkill. But nevertheless, having the data in the GIS system is helpful.
yeah, I guess, long range, I personally would like to know that we're paying the same amount for every pole. If one pole's $20 a month, the other's 50, that deserves a little investigation. So, we're taking some good first steps now, but the potential is kind of unlimited.
Yeah.
And the whole purpose, I will say, behind the district looking at changing gateway assets to FPNL as a cost savings measure. Pure and simple. FPNL thinks they will save us money in the district, and that's why we ask for the same consideration over here. Recognizing that old Pelican's 25 years old, Pelican Reserve Boulevard. Cypress Grove is nowhere near that old, so we might phase into the second part of it. But, and only if it makes sense money-wise.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ed.
The next thing is to review the project list. And this is something that we talked about in our last meeting, where I took the list of items that we had developed for funding, added on other projects that I knew about, other projects that people submitted, and created this list. So what I'd like to do is just go through it very quickly. And if you have any changes, updates, deletions, whatever, if you don't like the format, you want to change the format, whatever works for us. You know, I just started with what we had, and you know, we can work from there. So in no particular order, other than the list I started with was the list that we had for funding, was complete the work on Veneto and Vicenza intersection, the police presence on property, dangerous golf cart crossings, methods to prevent trespassing, update stop signs to match standards, add white lane reflectors on 4-lane sections of Pelican Preserve, Cypress Grove, and Prado, resurfacing, reconstructing roadways throughout the community, entrance monument refresh.
It's under landscaping work group right now.
Okay,
We've got color palettes. I've got one quote for LED lights, which I don't like the price, so I'm gonna go out and get another. And Mark's got a whole landscape plan up there.
okay, so we should remove this.
That's
Okay.
under landscaping.
All right,
Within
thank you.
that reconsideration, and this is not the landscape meeting, but I hope they're also considering putting a sign and fountains on the opposite side of the street. So if you're coming from
No, that's,
Daniels up,
yeah,
and I've mentioned this to Mark. So since we're abandoning Colonial, pretty, let's make both sides of the road as welcoming as,
yeah, makes sense.
so.
That's expensive though. Monuments
Yep,
are like
yep,
$150,000.
And that's why they allocated 50,000 to that particular
Okay,
aspect of it. So the funding will be there.
okay.
If P-PAC and landscaping can agree to do it.
Okay, anything else on the entrance monument refresh?
If I could circle back to the very first one, I would, you know, we were reading and I wasn't commenting.
Mhm.
But the Vicenza entrance,
Mhm.
I believe this is correct. Is Georgia, or I mean, Georgia. Is Andrew on this or is Laura?
I don't know.
Okay, here's what I know of. I know that the district put a surveyor out there to stake out the line of sight. And they're still out there, anybody can go look at it.
Mhm.
I believe that because of that information, they have approached the city of Fort Myers code enforcement people to say, we have obstructions in this line of sight, and we would like you to review it and make recommendations. I think that's kind of where that is right now. We haven't heard back from the district, from the city, and we'll nudge them again, but possibly, we might be able to improve the line of sight, and we don't have to do all these other things, and that could probably get away with the bumpity bumps and all the other stuff.
Is this the output of?
Yes, that's exactly it.
Okay.
So that initiative is going forward. Whether it bears fruit or not, I don't know. But just the whole group is aware that that is being done. That's a different approach.
Go ahead, we'll push it.
Yeah.
And Bob, just to further that, before the current rumble strips were installed, Ameriscape had trimmed the hedgerow that was out there along that segment of Veneto. um, to ensure that there was no encroachment into the site that would affect the site distance. There appears to be, and we'll talk about it momentarily, I guess, when we get to later on in the agenda. There appears to be some hedge that does encroach that might need to be
Yeah.
That are too high, yes.
removed.
And
But
One of them's too
for the
high.
most part, those shrubs are all around 2.5 feet tall and do not obstruct vision. Taller ones do, but 2.5 feet doesn't really affect anything. So just a point of information. We had
Yep.
done before.
Yeah, I went out there with a car and with a golf cart. And my car is an SUV, so it's up a little bit. So I didn't have any problem with the height, but or actually with the width. But with the golf cart, I had problems with the width of some of the shrubs. I literally couldn't see as well as when I was in the car. So I don't know if that's a consideration.
Yeah, I had a problem with some of the big trees that were blocking my sight line. So if all that was addressed, it looked
Yeah.
like it would be
Okay,
okay.
okay. I as long as they're taking into account that there's different height
Yes,
considerations.
I took a picture.
You gotta put your eyes right at the bottom of the window for the shorter people that can't see over the steering wheel, you know. It's like, dude. The height challenged.
Yes. Okay.
And then the point of it all is that if the sight lines are clear, then the issue becomes speed, and the speed of the motorists approaching from the left as you're trying to come out of Vicenza. The speed of the motorists coming out from the left. That's why the speed humps has been suggested to slow the
They
speed
don't slow,
because
they don't slow people down.
even with a clear line of sight, when they do come around that horizontal curve, if you will,
Mhm.
they're coming a bit fast, and reaction time for folks in the 55 plus community are not the same as they are in a mixed use development.
Wouldn't the same be for Pelican Preserve or Cypress Grove, any of the communities coming out onto those roads, or is it because
This is a
people are-
little- Because
the angle thing? I don't think if there's any,
You have a much longer view from all the other
be like
ways.
Valentina though, and Tiberias.
But they're much less, because it's town center. There's a lot of people going in
Yeah.
and out. So it's kind of a combination, it's a worse storm.
We had the same issue in Salerno coming up to Cypress Grove. That growth gets too high and bushy,
Yeah.
making
Yep,
it very,
yep.
my block. So because of speed, you have to be a little more cautious. That's all.
Okay. All right.
So at least it's moving forward. We got
Yeah,
something going on.
That's great. All
We
right.
gotta keep, one more thing, we have to keep in mind, we cut those shrubs down too low. That was one of the issues the residents of that house, corner of Vincenza and Benetto were complaining about. That they had too much sun, lights going into their lanai, so they
Mhm.
left them higher.
Well, if
So that was the issue.
Pelican's involved, they're not gonna have an option.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why I blame somebody else.
That was on the board years ago. That was a big issue that they brought up, is that we
Yeah.
cut them too low. Yeah.
But where most of the hard bushes are, it's their property. It's adjacent to the garage, so it's not like it's looking in a room.
Yeah,
So I hope that they'll be more accommodating.
Okay.
Jen,
Yes.
Number 6 is being done as part of the pavement markings refresh
Mm-hmm.
that Jen spoke of earlier.
Right.
So you could take that off the list.
Should we take it off or should we leave it on until it's completed?
Okay, either way, just so
Okay.
that we're aware it's being done.
Yes. Okay, I'll make a note of that.
Okay.
I think I have a bias to leave things on until they're completed because you just never know what might happen. And
Things
the,
don't happen fast.
yeah, unfortunately, that's true. Okay, but I will make a note of that. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
All right, I think we're now at the O&M agreement update. We got an update a little bit earlier. I'm gonna leave this on the list as well, just because it's the output will impact our team. Might not impact the outside world, but it'll definitely impact our team. Better understanding of unassigned reserves available for projects. And this is a process issue.
Briefly,
Mm-hmm.
beginning with your October 1st budget initiation. When we come to September 31st of 2024,
Doesn't exist.
you'll have a reconciliation. Your budget was X number of dollars.
Right.
You spent less than that, hopefully. So that will give you your reserve. And that reserve will carry forward into the future years exclusively for use by this committee, unless you choose to turn it back in to PPAC. And the purpose of having that extra money in long-range funds is that if you elect to undertake a project that would ordinarily be excessive monies in one year, you've got this nest egg that you're building up.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, when we started doing the ponds, at one time we had over $1 million in ponds reserves. So when they started replacing the ponds bank, they had the money there to do it. So that's how this will affect this group. You'll be able to watch your running total every month. And when the month ends and when the year ends, if there's still funds there and you need it and want it and have identified it for a project, it's there for you.
Okay.
It does not return, and that's the same for ponds and landscape. It does not return to the quote unquote general fund. It
Okay.
stays specific to allow you guys to make future plans.
Do they have to go back to PPAC to reallocate those funds?
They always do, but they don't have to. In other words, the committees always tell PPAC what they're doing. Like right now, the downspout project, it's been going on for 8 years. And every year they go to PPAC and say, we're going to spend $400,000. Here's the money we have reserved. Do you approve it? It's just been up to now, yes.
Okay. And so it's just within each subcommittee. If somebody says, I've got extra money, hey, landscaping, you have this project, I'd like to get it reassigned to you for your project or vice versa or whatever.
Absolutely.
Okay.
The landscape will have their own money. And the reason that's important is you have to understand right now that the budget that we put forward,
Mhm.
this group put forward
Right.
and PPAC, we honestly really don't know what we need. I mean, it's easy with the fixed contracts. They're pretty straightforward. But the various other categories get in there, time is going to tell us what we need. All of those categories were derived from prior castle expenditures. And we never had true confidence that because they allocated 55,000 for sidewalk repair, whether they spent that or not. Because the old system was they were pretty free to move the money from one column to another, depending on what the needs were. So the total amount was probably always needed, but the individual categories was just a guess. It will no longer be a guess in the future. We'll know exactly what you're spending. And I know that Danny has said a couple times that some of the monies that we currently have in the Wiser contract, he feels that he can apply some efficiencies to there
Mhm.
and opportunities to save some money. So that would be great. So then whatever that dollar figure gets accumulated at the end, as we improve, put efficiencies in, the money is still available for us to use.
Okay. I don't remember who added this to the list, but I'll make a proposal. Since we're going to be documenting the process for budgeting, et cetera, at a high level, but we're going to be documenting it. What I would recommend is putting that kind of information in that document so it's there in front of the people doing budgeting. And then we can just call this done, as long as that's meeting the need of whoever added this to the list. I don't remember how it showed up on the list.
Well, but next year in budget time, which will be April, May,
Right.
PPAC will come to you
I understand.
and say, what do you need?
Right. But this will just say, hey, don't forget,
Okay.
if you have leftover funds, you need to talk
Great.
about those as well.
Great.
Okay. Anything else on this one? Okay. So once it's in the document, it's going to be closed.
Number 17, are you going?
We're not, yeah, we're going to go one by one, just
Oh,
to,
sorry. Go ahead.
no, that's okay. I'm one of these methodical types.
Number 11 can be removed completely because PPCA's taken that
Yeah.
over. Because Gateway doesn't want to do the golf carts.
Right.
It's actually, I just checked it, it's uploaded. Golf cart resolutions.
Well, they don't want to issue the stickers and.
Right,
the
but
appearance and all that.
golf is a golf cart,
Well, they're,
money not, yeah.
I think it's under the golf cart, let's see, it's under golf cart registration.
It would be under the bicycle lane type stuff. wouldn't it?
Bicycle, I mean, bicycle.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they-
'cause
I
now
think
golf carts aren't gonna be allowed.
they're recommending. So this was adopted and it's up on the website, June 22nd, 2023. Let me see if there's anything in here. I think that they're not making any recommendation of, other than just right-hand lane.
Yeah, I
think
thought.
I saw
the
something
effort
in a
was to take
newsletter.
the golf, bicycle emblems in that
Mhm.
way.
Yeah, I don't see that on the list, I guess the bike
It's
is
probably not there, but it should be, yeah.
Well, yeah, we wanted to have that, have whomever, the consultant, probably Florida Transportation Engineers, coordinate with City of Fort Myers on that bike lane designation as part of the process, which is, underway, separate from the pavement marking refreshes.
Yeah, okay. I'll
I
add
think
that in.
feedback has addressed that, although it should be more properly for us.
Yeah, right. So it's anticipated that the conversation is going to go along the lines of bicycles in the bicycle lane, slower speed vehicles like golf carts in the right-hand travel lane, and until they need to make a left-hand turn to, at an intersection, and mixed traffic in the all other traffic in the higher speed lane, if you will, the left lane on
The 8-foot lanes, yeah.
Yeah, PPCA adopted the new regulations. They're just basically saying carts may not be operated on sidewalks. Violation of any conditions constitutes a non-criminal traffic infraction per Florida statute 316-212. Any traffic incident involving a golf cart will be subject to all legal enforcement policies and procedures similar to an accident involving a motor vehicle. So they're pushing it back onto the Department of Motor Vehicles.
Okay.
And then they do at the very bottom, that owners are also reminded that the Board of Supervisors of the Gateway Services Community Development District has adopted regulations for the use of golf carts on district roads, which are applicable to district roads within the community. So between those two, but they're not saying where they can drive.
Does it say when
except-
they're gonna do the chevrons?
No, this is just
But-
our the golf cart registration form. So this is the new rules for
Three
PPCA.
pending initiatives. Ones we just talked about earlier, but then there was another one specifically for the chevrons. I don't know when that was, what's on the list.
It's not on the list, and I just said I would add it.
Because I think they voted on that.
Mhm. Tropical storm warning until Monday at 10:30 PM. I just got the text. Okay. Pavement markings refresh. We talked about that earlier today. Speed hump. We talked a little bit about that in our meeting. Cypress Grove Drive, Prado Boulevard roundabout. We did not talk about that today, but we've talked about it at recent meetings.
That's right. It's the permit has been issued and the district is procuring bids.
Okay,
They may have already received them. I don't know.
excellent. Thank you.
Is that gonna be the same, pretty much the same as what we have for the Casella roundabout?
Similar, yeah, same idea.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we had a picture. Was it in our last meeting?
Yes.
Our last regularly scheduled meeting? Yeah.
It's changed a little bit, but the
Okay,
idea is very consistent.
okay, terrific. Lighting improvements at the gatehouse
Yeah,
and,
I
yep.
put that. And
yes,
still something I think that's needed. And just a future project to be determined.
One comment on that, and I don't know what you're thinking about from the lighting perspective, but I know the street light in front of it there, the dual one is out, and
Yeah.
but also if we're looking at FPL maybe taking over some of, you might be able to enhance the lighting with FPL street lights rather, in that entryway with some more lighting from the street lighting. Just something to keep in mind, because we've got a lot of projects that may be conflicting or overlapping in certain areas.
The FPL is probably a couple of years away, realistically.
But they can do onesie twosies.
Okay,
You don't have to do the whole,
all right.
You do independent ones.
yeah. We could just go do something in that front entrance and say, you should have probably thought about that on tree line rather than spending all the money to replace all that wire, just have them take over the streetlights and put in streetlights there. So it's just something to keep in mind so that we aren't wasting money or
Put something in, figure it out.
yeah.
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 So I think they could set some more lights closer to the gatehouse too, to improve that lighting, depending on the type of lighting you want to do on the gatehouse. So
I was asked from Sienna and Aviano to be careful if we do, because we did talk motion sensor lights for the
Mhm.
sidewalks in particular. And someone came to me and said, could just please be aware because those lights do shine in the condo unit. So if we do floodlight type lights for motion sensors.
and one nice thing about the new LED streetlights is they're very directional. And so they shine down and basically illuminate everything below much more than the radiant that
Yeah.
the teardrop lights that we have now and the old lighting. So it will solve some of those lighting issues from neighbors and stuff, I think.
So we just replaced all that wiring on those, because FP&L's latest proposal that was presented says that they want to dig up all that wiring, replace it with 2-inch conduit.
Yeah, and keep in mind, Marty, that we needed the lights on tree line.
Yeah.
And that FPL.
But we don't know if it's even going to be approved. PPAC might say we don't want to do it. So
Work out.
Yeah. Also,
it's
it's
a
a
great
project.
program.
Even if it's just for a small group or small area, there's still a startup cost there, I would think.
Yeah.
Not cost meaning monetary, though. I guess everything can be translated into money. But there's still a cost, especially for the people who are going to be taking care of it and tracking it and all that stuff.
I don't know, utilities put in onesie twosies streetlights all the time for municipal, so,
Yes.
I'm just thinking about transferring stuff over, that's all. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I've been involved with stuff like that before, and it's a project just to get going. But it might be better to get started with a small group. I don't know.
Well, I can tell you that when I met with a lighting consultant earlier this year, the idea that we were talking about that he was suggesting was more landscape type lighting, bollards along the edge of the dividing island that divides the inbound visitor lane from the outbound visitor lane. Half a dozen 3.5 foot tall bollards that have a light on the top of them that just kind of light the way. They don't cast a lot of light, but they show you where the edge of the roadway is. So there was things like that, where this circular island is, where that tree got replaced recently. Maybe a half a dozen of these bollards around that island. Similar, not to cast a lot of light down, but just to outline where the edge of the travelway is. Because if you were coming in at night and most of the lights were not functioning, it's really dark. And this could help define where the motorists are driving, and at a pretty low cost.
The gatehouse lights on it, the can lights. Okay.
Light just outside, like inside.
Right.
But yeah, they light up both
Just
sides.
need to get brighter.
Both
Can-
Well, I think once we get that double light up, we'll see, we'll get a better idea of what the lighting condition
Yeah.
will be, go forward from there.
Yeah,
Because the gatehouse itself is lit. It's just the approach to it, just with that double hanging light is that it's lost. But I don't see, I don't see it as a major problem that when the other lights are working.
yeah.
The outlining bollards around the island, the tree, that's a good idea. You gotta check the cost savings on it.
Well, and we just put two royal palms in on the front median in between that majewel palm. So I think Mark was gonna get those, the uplights.
They should have uplight.
Yeah, so we've got to get that repaired. So that'll illuminate that whole median too. Yeah.
Yeah, so that'll help.
Yep.
I think once we get everything up and running, we do another assessment on to see where we are.
Yeah.
So let's leave it on the list and just
Yep.
remind us. Okay. Finally, the speed monitoring program. And this one's on hold a little bit because Weiser is no longer going to do the work associated with moving those signs around. So, and of course, the batteries are having an issue. And maybe before we leave, I can chat with you for a couple minutes. I'd like to get access to the battery just to do some checks and stuff.
Yeah, I've been just ready to go. I've been following up on that. I've been unsuccessful right now getting those batteries.
Oh, I just
Yeah.
wanted what.
You gotta watch the amperage. You can't.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
And no, I understand about battery power.
Yeah, Traffic Solutions, they're like $300 or $400.
Right.
I'm trying to go around the bat with them through my other company, so.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and what I'm trying to do, Jennifer and I were talking one day, is just really double check to make sure it's the battery, it's not the plug, and it doesn't look like it's the plug. I wanted to check to make sure it was the battery, not a connection between the battery and the sign. If you've done that already,
I
let
didn't
me
do
know.
that yet. I didn't take the. sign
Okay,
out.
that's-
But also, in lieu of that, we should be looking into the solar option rather than the battery option.
Yeah.
There's a solar option.
Yeah, I
understand.
So much cleaner
Yeah,
and lighter.
we just
Mhm.
gotta make sure we've got the sign, the model sign that
Yeah,
will,
it does.
it does it.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Okay,
Okay,
good.
so are you following up? Oh, I'm sorry. Are you following up with the checking to see if it's just the battery? You know, I was trying to isolate the different components before we bought a whole thing.
Okay, the charge that was there is free. The wiring, and without breaking it to get it open to check it, but I have a tester. I'm gonna go into that and see if the drawer is the same. I have my electrical
Okay.
equipment.
Yeah, I did the
just had to
same
take it
thing.
out of
It
the-
seemed to be
Yeah, I
okay.
remove it from the charge.
It's a piece of equipment.
Okay, Yes,
Yes.
And in the past, the positioning was handled by Weiser,
yes.
and now they're not going
It's not in their contract.
It was
Lauren
something
Kelsey
that,
said
Look,
after.
I got no problem doing it.
I don't hurt for years.
We'll do anything y'all want us
The
to
new
do.
mate, the
But
new
of
mate.
course, our contract is the gateway.
yeah,
So you
the
can't
new maintenance
decide.
person is gonna do it. So we're just putting a hold on the program and
Yeah,
just figure this out.
Get that thing.
Okay, yes, sir.
Yeah, just to go over what, I appreciate everything you're doing. It is and has been since my third year here, always an issue with, so I'd like to know if it is a system in the batteries. I think we've kind of covered that, but it's probably outdated. That solar, if you guys can look into it, will be a tremendous attribute for years to come.
Yes,
It is a pain to go around. It is a job that takes a little bit of time.
Yeah.
And I will have no problem helping. Again, it is not under our control.
no, I understand. I understand.
to. Okay.
Okay. So feel free,
Okay,
all of you.
well then-
Within the gatehouse, anytime you want it, it's all
One of
there.
the community recommendation too, one of the communities finished well. It actually involves some portable guns, shooting cars. This is a deterrent effect. And that seems, to have some sort of impact on the residents as well. Doesn't mean they're very inquisitive as what's happening.
Oh, yeah.
you know? So,
Well, moving forward, this could be an ideal task for a new maintenance.
Yeah, and that's where it's gonna go. So that's
Okay.
why the program is on hold until October
Okay.
or until the person's up to speed, they're
Forgive me for
effective.
not being up to speed.
No, that's okay. That's okay. And then Danny, since you're gonna take on the whole thing, I'll back off of what I was doing.
You can put your flap.
I'm just reading your notes, but if it's something that you have been working on. I think it's about.
I don't think it's been documented, but whatever, it's fine. Yeah, so if you're gonna do that, I just wanted,
I'll take that to his side.
okay, fantastic.
fantastic.
Now,
All right.
we want to, just as we go forward, where do we want to store the equipment?
It
They know where
had-
they're gonna,
It had been stored in a blower, where the blower units are in the Brocky Center, right across the
oh, where I
wall
have,
from the
where I have
mulching
my,
pump.
where I have my emergency response team equipment?
No, we gotta be careful with that because the pipe got pushed and then the drip line was flooding that whole area, so,
Where my stuff is?
yeah.
They did put more stuff in there.
Yeah, we gotta be careful because we had water flowing out of that whole room. The pipes literally just sitting over the drain. Anyways, the other blower room across from the bocce ball storage, where the men's and ladies room is when you come in from lawn bowling,
Okay,
there's I think, yeah,
actually,
that's where they were
because
stored.
that's open and equipment we have, we don't want to be. Like that other issue. I'm
Yeah.
gonna move it into John's office.
That might be a smart idea.
Equipment, put it in John's office, secure it, and I'll get a key to his office and secure it.
Okay,
We can't have that out.
no,
I'll take care of it now. Bigger space that we can put.
those are only two stands and the two.
Yeah, we can't come in the floor.
The chains
Yeah,
and
floor.
they're pretty, there's not a lot of, they don't take up much space.
Okay, I gotta go there after the meeting.
Okay. All right. That's all we had on the list. Now, Danny, I think you said you had a project you wanted to add on, but I never got any information. Yeah, you never told me what it was. Well, if you think of it,
If I
just
think
let
of
me
it,
know. Send me an email. I'll be happy to add it.
One of my
on
notes.
the list. That's okay. Whatever it might be.
I know,
Yeah,
right?
well, hard to believe, Danny. So anyway, if there's anything else from anybody, just let me know. Is the format okay at the moment? It can be changed at any time. You know, it's a Excel document. It's easy. Okay, terrific. Let's see here. The next thing, we were going to do a vote, but we'll just remind ourselves what we're going to do. And the first one was to approve the revised Wiser post orders. I made all the updates that we talked about in our workshop, and Georgia very kindly sent it out to everyone for review. I don't even know if I want to ask if anybody has any additional changes, because at some point we just have to say this is it, and then
Okay.
we'll make amendments.
The only thing I would suggest is our cell phone, Adam's and my cell phone numbers, because I don't think we want that publicized. It turned into a nightmare for me in another property and I had homeowners comp.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about that then. The post orders are for Wiser, so they need that information. If we take them out of the post orders, because the post orders are going to be posted on the website, we need to be able to have something so that you know what their cell phone numbers are. Do you have, I think you have a list in your guards house. So we're just going to move it to that list. So it's very easy to get their cell phone numbers without publishing them.
Their call is posted in. the
Yeah, Mark and I texted each other.
Oh, okay. Okay. I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So we will remove that.
Wait a minute, let me write it down. Do.
Okay. What we're gonna do is we're gonna remove Jen's and Adam's cell phone numbers and put their office numbers. And then what Wiser has is a list already posted in the guard's house that has, really important numbers. Their phone numbers will be posted there. And Jen offline said, oh yeah, they text each other all the time. They know their numbers.
Page 6.
Yeah. Thank you. I'll write that down and make it easier for me
And
to
as a
find it.
union representative, I would like that, I'm all right having my number posted, being that I'm here anyway. So I have no problem, my number for them, they need it.
Okay.
And as a resident, my number's posted anyway.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Putting me down as equal.
Okay. I'll let you work with them on that.
Because
Yeah, most communities, we do have a safety and security liaison appointed to the community, because there's just certain things that happen in safety and security. Take people more involved than Jen or a board member or whatever.
Okay, great.
I'd like to go.
All right.
I should be by right away, sign up and the house. Right. Can't wait for notification, someone else has to come directly from you.
Mark, you have, Dan.
You have.
Another question, I think it's the approved revised Wiser post orders. Is there still checking with the town center or the storage market?
They haven't, you guys haven't been doing the town RV from
No.
month to month.
No, I know not for months and months, it doesn't.
No.
Objections. But with the direction that we're going through feedback, when I accepted the board, that will come back in.
Right. But
You want to wait until it's official and then?
yes,
Okay. Very good.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, so we can get a baseline and then,
Or if you then
okay,
revert back to the historical roles.
yeah.
which-
Well,
Yeah, two things.
Contractual role.
Revert back to them. Validate around.
That's actually. Okay. It's in the contract.
Well, it's in there, but we have nowhere to do that because those facilities don't check those facilities.
I mean, there's no punch thing.
Oh, they're there, yeah, but we're just not checking them because we don't inspect them. They're not part of what we're doing.
We'll put that to another day.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna get this, we're gonna put it all back in.
right,
We'll go.
right.
Okay.
But at some point, we just have to say baseline it
Yes,
and then
yes, yes.
move forward. Okay,
God knows we spent a lot of time.
yes. Okay, so I'll make that one change and then with the expectation that at our next meeting, we will vote to approve. We will send it on to Wiser and I don't know if you guys were at our meetings when we were talking about how you guys are using some kind of template. And so it was hard sometimes to get the formatting exactly right. I assume they're sent it to you. Yeah, okay, so it probably needs to get a little reformatting on your side. Yeah. Yeah, okay,
I didn't get to a hurricane preparedness meeting.
I understand. Thank you very much.
He's running long.
No.
All right, we're almost done. We're almost done. We'll stay focused and we can get through in a couple minutes here. All right,
One quick question, Jennifer,
yes.
to the district and or to Wiser. When does
I'm
the
sorry?
current contract end?
I think it ends
Next fall.
next fall, yeah.
Next.
Got one more year after this.
September
Okay, thank
24, I believe it is.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So 9/24/22. Okay. We have one other thing, and we talked about it very briefly earlier, so I don't know if we need a lot of discussion at the moment, and that was the site triangle at Vicenza and Veneto, or Veneto, I never have said.
Right now, I believe that's fine with the city of Fort Myers.
Yeah,
Let's see what they come out.
yep, that's what we talked about earlier. So any other discussion that we need?
My question on it is that the surveyor took the measurement 25 feet back from the edge of pavement of Veneto and in the middle of the island. But I couldn't tell where the shrubs or where the monument is in the island. And my belief is that the measurement should have been taken probably, 10 feet to towards the travel lane, to the exiting travel lane, so that we know whether in fact the shrubs in the median island or the monument itself might block that site triangle. Just a comment.
I think, Dean, that the purpose was to take the vehicle up to where a normal vehicle would be expected to stop.
Yep.
And then from that position, whatever that is, it's kind of arbitrary.
No,
Then
there's a
you do this.
standard for it. There is a standard for this.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. I tend to think that they should have made the measurement from the exiting travel lane rather than from the.
That's
middle.
where they should have made it. You're exactly right.
That's all. That's all. And the criteria says the height of the obstruction needs to be greater than 3.5 feet. That's for the site distance.
It's on the document. I read it, but it didn't stick with me. What it was.
Yeah. Right.
I was
mean,
more focused on the upper range than the
correct,
lower.
correct. But anything above 3.5 feet could be a problem. Low shrubs, flowering gardens, that type of thing, not usually a problem. Okay, that's all I had.
Okay.
One last comment. Years ago, probably 8 or 9 years ago, there was a proposal to PPAC to eliminate the rover. And that was put in front of our residents at that time. And there was, surprisingly, there was overwhelming support to keep the road. It, sometime this next year, fiscal year, it might be appropriate to revisit that. There's significant savings if we would choose to do that. And I'm not advocating, I'm totally neutral. I don't care one way or the other. But I would just throw it out that at one time it was considered and rejected by PPAC. So I don't know what the mechanism